Okay, now it's been recorded. Sorry that I forget it every time to record.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So as I explained that this is the place, this is the drug where you need to give it, where you give it after the clot is formed, not prevent the formation of clot. And I told you that it should be administered within hours, 2 to 5 hours of the actual insult. Okay, and if there is necrosis is already established, then there is no way that the necrotized tissue will be reversed back. So overriding factor for effectiveness of these drugs, today we are going to discuss these drugs, is early administration. I am repeating that early administration is very essential here, because the time passes away, then more and more tissue will be degraded, necrotized, and any reversal of or lysis, or if you even dissolve the clot fully, then the affected tissue might not recover. Okay, they will not recover. So I showed you this diagram earlier as well, and the reason I was showing this is that you can see the factor 1 fibrinogen converted to fibrin, which produces clot, isn't it? And the fibrin itself activates plasmin. Okay, from plasminogen it will activate plasmin. And what is plasmin? From the last class I told you that plasmin is the one substance that is able to dissolve already formed clot. This is the natural one. Okay, it is available there in our blood, and it roams around in the blood in the inactivated form of plasminogen. And wherever there is fibrin, formed fibrin helps this plasminogen to be converted into plasmin. Okay, and plasmin is the one that dissolves it naturally. Okay, and slowly in our body. Okay, so this figure is from Goodman and Gilman book, and this will summarize how this fibrin is dissolved. Okay, you can see that this is smooth muscle cells here in the blood vessel. Okay, around or in tissue, you can say. And endothelial cell here produces a substance called tissue plasminogen activator. Okay, this green one over here, TPA, that I have written. Okay, that in this diagram, TPA is tissue plasminogen activator, and it is released at the sites of injury where the clot is being formed. Okay, and this TPA binds to fibrin. Okay, it when it is released from the endothelial cells, it will get bound with this fibrin. That means the clot itself. Okay, though doesn't dissolve or doesn't do anything, it will go in, it will be soaked up by the fibrin clot. Okay, it will be soaked inside the clot. This TPA will be absorbed inside the clot. Okay, and inside the clot it will activate plasminogen into plasmin. Okay, that means plasmin will be formed inside the clot, guys. It is not running around in the blood. The only plasmin that is being dissolved into the fibrin will be activated by TPA, tissue plasminogen activator, because TPA is already now inside the fibrin. Okay, and then from inside, fibrin will be eaten up. It will be digested from inside, guys. Okay, from inside, not from outside. It will start dissolving from inside, which is very safe. And plasminogen activator 1 and 2. Okay, this one, PAI1 and PAI2, these are the ones that block TPA. Okay, in case TPA is overactive, okay, because degradation of fibrin is not always good thing. Nah? When the fibrin or the clot is there for protection clot, okay, protection of hemorrhage, then at that moment, if the clot is dissolved, then the bleeding will reoccur, isn't it? To prevent that, if something happens with TPA starts overactivity or it starts dissolving too much fibrin, then there are two breaks in it. Okay, our body has a break in the name of, we gave it the name as plasminogen activator inhibitor 1 and 2. Okay, that will inactivate TPA, and this thing is not very important for our pharmacological point of view, but physiologically it is very important. And there is another one, that is alpha 2 antiplasmin. This one you can see, alpha 2 antiplasmin. This directly blocks the plasmin, not TPA but plasmin. Okay, that means you can see how important or delicate this balance is. Okay, just to block this lysis so that the body will not block it mistaken or in the wrong place, we have two breaks here. One breaks directly applies to the plasmin. Plasmin is the one which will dissolve the fibrin, and another break is applied to TPA, tissue plasminogen activator, so that it won't convert plasminogen into plasmin. Okay, two breaks, different breaks. This is how sophisticated this thing is. Okay, and you can see how complicated it is, because fibrin is there and our TPA goes inside fibrin. Plasmin also goes inside this clot fibrin, and then it will start eating up that softening of this fibrin will start from inside. Okay, and slowly it will get degraded. So this is all natural. We are not intervening from outside. No drug is used. All natural thing happening over there. Okay. So what we do here with this fibrinolytic therapy is that we speed up this thing. Okay, and we use everything that is all inside. Okay. So our therapeutic fibrinolytic thrombolytic drug should be slightly different from ATPA, okay, RTPA, and this plasmin thing. Why? Because we need to do it fast. Here, it's the time that matters. I'm talking about that very frequently now, because the time is the prime deciding factor over here. Okay, so fibrinolytics should rapidly lyse thrombi by catalyzing the formation of plasmin into plasminogen rapidly. Okay, slowly our body also is able to do that. And tissue plasminogen activator is also produced outside. Okay, tissue plasminogen activator, if you remember, just in the previous slide I gave you that picture, that it is our natural plasminogen to plasmin activator. It will activate plasminogen into plasmin. Okay, so this one can be produced outside, and it is called RTPA. Okay, RTPA is nothing but it is recombinant tissue plasminogen activator. Okay, and nowadays it's called alteplase. Alteplase and RTPA are the same thing. Okay, and these are the this is one of the drugs, and another drug is there that is produced from bacteria. Okay, called streptokinase. I've been naming that drug before as well. Streptokinase. What is streptokinase? Streptokinase is produced from bacteria. Okay, that is from hemolytic bacteria. Why hemolytic? Hemolysis. Okay, the bacteria is able to hemolyze, and by using the enzyme that it uses to hemolyze, you can use that to dissolve clots. Okay, and this is basically from streptokinase. I think it is produced from bacteria Streps, and these drugs will dissolve both protective hemostatic thrombi, that means the thrombi that is there for hemostasis, and which is this is therapeutic good hemostatic thrombi. This is good thrombi, and another one working as thromboemboli, that is intravascular inside the blood circulation, and that has the risk of getting occluded in some distant portion of the blood, and they can produce ischemia. Okay, so this thromboemboli, both of them are broken down. That is why we get the adverse effects. Okay, streptokinase, if you use streptokinase to a person who is just had a wound or a surgery, for example, he had cuts in his body, and if you use these fibrinolytic drugs to that patient, then there is a very high risk that the clot will be dissolved over there, and the rebleeding of the wound can happen. So it is very dangerous for those kinds of patients who have tendency of bleeding, or they have some clot or wound somewhere which is now stable and it's not bleeding. Okay, it can start re-bleeding. So it's very easy class today. Okay, only two drugs. Okay, only two drugs, but there are few diversions of these drugs. Okay, one is streptokinase. I just told you about what is streptokinase. Streptokinase is from beta hemolytic streptococcus, and separated the enzyme streptokinase, and that can be used for our purpose of dissolving the clots after most probably MI. Okay, and this streptokinase nowadays is being banned in developed countries. We still use it in our part of the world, but in basically in USA and UK and in most of the Europe, western parts of Europe, it's been banned. Okay, why? Because it has very high antigenic properties. Why? Because it is derived from bacteria, and that might have many allergens over there, and sensitive people, they can have shock, allergic and allergic reactions in those patients. Okay, and the next is alteplase. That is nothing, that is just the RTPA or TPA, recombinant tissue plasminogen activator, that is produced outside in the lab by recombinant gene therapy technology, recombinant DNA technology. Okay, so you can see that one streptokinase is in yellow or orange and alteplase in green. Okay, now you can see I have divided these in three different colors, two different colors. This orange one is, they are similar, like streptokinase, urokinase, and anistreptase. Okay, streptokinase is the raw thing that is derived from the bacteria. Urokinase is a complex of plasminogen and streptokinase thing. I will tell you about this in a minute. When I explain streptokinase, you will be able to understand urokinase as well. And anistreptase is external streptokinase and plasminogen complex. It's already given from outside. Why I am talking about plasminogen complex, you will be knowing about this in a moment. Guys, are you able to hear me? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So TPA, another, this green one is, I told you it is alteplase. Okay, alteplase is these green ones all are different diversions of alteplase. Okay, recombinant, not recombinant, but tissue plasminogen activator. Okay, these are all variants. For example, tissue plasminogen activator TPA. This is our own endogenous ones, and it is separated from endogenous people. It is separated from people and then produced outside. Nowadays, this is not available. You don't do that. Okay, and alteplase is the same endogenous plasminogen activator, but it is recombinant, that I just told you. Reteplase is it is again recombinant RTPA, but with some amino acids, some sequences been deleted to alter its pharmacokinetic and thermodynamic properties. Okay, and tenecteplase is the another one, that is a mutant type of RTPA with slightly different. It's not that just few of the amino acids is deleted, but tenecteplase has some different amino acids being inserted in its sequence. Okay, so that means this is also variations of these two, streptokinase and alteplase, two only drugs. Okay, we are talking about two drugs. So what is the mechanism of action? You can see. Okay, if I want to show you the drugs, this is streptokinase. You can see. You can see this is streptokinase drug and the alteplase drug is here. Okay, and this chart is all what is done. Okay, and the main mechanism of action, how this clot is dissolved, is by activating this plasmin. Both of them do the same thing. Okay, guys. So activation of plasmin is there from plasminogen. You know that. So plasminogen is activated to plasmin, okay, to plasmin over here you can see, and then plasmin will degrade this fibrin to fibrin degradation products, FDP you call it, okay, fibrin degradation product. So this thing is even detected in blood to find out if the clot is been dissolved or not, okay, this is a test we can do. So how does streptokinase work? Streptokinase is very interesting. I'll tell you why. I was talking about this streptokinase and plasminogen coupling, okay, complex. So streptokinase by itself doesn't do anything. It's not active, okay. But when it goes to inside our body and combines with plasminogen, and remember this is not covalent or bond or some sort of permanent bonding. It's just connection, okay, it is just bonding, non-covalently bond, okay. So streptokinase with combination with plasminogen, supposedly it is there to activate plasminogen, but instead of directly activating plasminogen, what it does is it will combine with plasminogen first, and then it will change the conformation of this plasminogen, okay, and that streptokinase plasminogen complex now will speed up the process of plasminogen activation into plasmin, okay. It will speed up very fast, okay. That will happen because of streptokinase and plasminogen complex. That is the mechanism of action, guys. Very simple. I told you that this plasminogen is slowly degraded, slowly converted into plasmin in our body when there is no drugs, okay. But in introduction of streptokinase will speed up this process. How it is speeding up? Very interestingly, it will first combine with its own substrate, that is plasminogen. It will combine with plasminogen, and the plasminogen streptokinase complex will speed up the process of plasminogen into converting into plasmin, okay. And similar thing happens with alteplase as well, okay. Alteplase again is not able to directly go to plasminogen and then activate as plasmin. Alteplase needs fibrin, okay. This may be the foolproof method of our nature, okay. Why alteplase? Okay, recombinant, not recombinant, TPA, tissue plasminogen activator, our own alteplase inside our body. I told you that it goes into the fibrin, that is the clot. Fibrin is the clot, okay, guys. So it will go inside the clot, okay, and from inside the clot it will start eating out the clot. So alteplase, if we introduce from outside as well, it will again go inside the clot. It will combine with fibrin, and then only it will activate the plasminogen inside the clot, okay. So that is how it works. Alteplase also alone it is not able to do anything. So activation of alteplase will only happen if it goes inside the fibrin, and fibrin activates the alteplase. Then it will activate plasminogen into plasmin, and plasmin eventually will degrade this fibrin into its products, okay. This is our main goal. Main goal is this one. We need to degrade this fibrin into degradation products. So if we use streptokinase will make a complex with plasminogen, and then it will change plasminogen, other plasminogen into plasmin. Alteplase first it will combine with fibrin, and then it will activate. This will catalyze this reaction plasminogen into plasmin. Okay, guys. So this is the mechanism of action. So what is this streptokinase? Streptokinase is the protein synthesized by streptococci, beta hemolytic streptococci. Okay, because of its property, the enzyme streptococci produces is able to lysis is able to degrade our blood. Okay, that is why this enzyme is separated out, and then it is used as a drug, not an enzyme itself. I showed you in the previous figure that it is not an enzyme or anything, but it itself combines with plasminogen to form enzymatic complex. Only if it is combined with plasminogen, it is able to give you the enzymatic characteristic that is has. Okay. So conversion of inactive plasminogen to plasma is done by streptokinase, which is combined with plasminogen. Do not confuse this. Okay, it is cheap, but it is antigenic. Okay, so many cases of allergies are there, so it is very dangerous. In fact, this is done given via drip. Okay, and this drip is only those people, those doctors who are trained to give streptokinase are supposed to give streptokinase to patients. Okay, that too, always the patient should be attached to a cardiac monitor so that his BP and all these heart rate and everything vitals will be monitored. Okay, that is why this is quite dangerous drug. It is not used regularly by everybody, every doctor. There are trainings for administration of streptokinase. Okay, TF is 80 to 30 minutes. This TF we don't bother much about it because we should give it as early as possible, and preferably before 4 hours of the actual insult. Okay, insult of MI or a CBA or anything. How do you do it? You do it via IV infusion. Okay, drip. Loading dose will be 250,000 unit. Okay, 250,000 unit, followed by 100,000 unit for 24 to 72 hours. Okay, that means you start by that time, and then you keep on giving for 24 to 75 hours, 74 hours. Another very similar is urokinase. Okay, so what is urokinase? It is the same streptokinase. Okay, but it is not from any bacteria or that. It is synthesized from our kidney. Okay, in the kidney. So, but and the very interesting thing with this urokinase, it was discovered later. Okay, that it doesn't need plasminogen. Okay, it directly converts plasminogen into active plasmin. Why is it so? Why doesn't it need plasminogen? Because it is already a I didn't write over there, but it is already kinase complex, and that is why plasmin itself can't be used. Okay, sorry, it is non-antigenic. Okay, sorry, it is non-antigenic because it is produced not from the bacteria. Plasmin itself can't be used as fibrinolytic because naturally occurring inhibitors in plasma prevents its effects. Okay, so there might be a question. In fact, I got question last year that if plasmin is already there in our body, why don't you give? Why do you want to go to alteplase or streptokinase? Why don't you directly inject plasmin? Okay, why can't you inject plasmin? The reason being that plasmin is a highly unstable compound. Okay, it will get degraded before reaching anywhere we want it to go. Absence of inhibitors for urokinase and streptokinase proactivator complex permit their use clinically. Okay, but this plasmin, it cannot be used directly. Okay, from outside, but urokinase and streptokinase, they can survive the journey. That is why this urokinase and streptokinase is used, but plasmin is not used. Okay, the third drug I was talking about, very similar to streptokinase, is anistreptase. Okay, anistreptase is consists of complex of purified plasminogen and bacterial streptokinase. That means this is the same streptokinase, but it is highly purified. Okay, nowadays we have technology how to separate. It's 99% pure, so there is no chance of getting antigenic and allergies from this. And to ensure correct efficacy, this is pre-mixed with plasminogen outside. Okay, your preparation outside is the complex of plasminogen and streptokinase. Okay, clean streptokinase. That means the everything is same, but it is rapidly available for functioning. Okay, and this is very expensive. and no point that Europeans should use that, because Europeans now don't use streptokinase and histoplase anything. Okay, they are using alteplase. So what is alteplase? Alteplase is produced by recombinant DNA technology from human tissue culture. Okay, so alteplase is what I told is it is a tissue plasminogen activator. That means it is not taken from any animal or human or anything, but they are produced from recombinant DNA technology. Specifically activates the gel phase of plasminogen already bound to fibrin. So what this gel phase means is that I told you that this alteplase goes inside the fibrin, okay, and then it will start eating up from inside. That means slowly that clot is going to turn to a jelly substance, because it is being degraded from inside. The outside cover is quite hard, but inside it becomes softer and softer, which will give it the phase of gel phase of plasminogen. Okay, so it specifically activates the gel phase of plasminogen, which is already bound to fibrin. So, and because of this, it has no or very less action on circulating plasminogen. Okay, circulating, that means outside the blood, outside the platelets, it doesn't work. Outside the clot, it doesn't work. It only works inside the clot, which is very safe, and it's not like streptokinase. Okay, and it is again pharmacokinetic is very good, because it goes out very fast from our body, and it is not energic, non-antigenic, so it is very relatively safe than streptokinase. This is alteplase. Okay, and alteplase is one drug that is used in the developed nations. They don't have any other drugs. They don't use streptokinase and related drugs. And the dose you can see is 0.9 mg per kg. Okay, but not to be exceeded more than 90 milligram. 10% of this is given bolus, and the remainder of the drug is given in infusion. You can use normal saline for that, and you can mix the remaining 90% of the drug in that normal saline, and then infuse over 1 hour. So these are the drugs that we are talking today. So further we are going to discuss the uses of both the drugs. Okay, so what are the uses? Most of the uses you already know. The uses will be acute myocardial infarction, obviously, but the key factor here is that you need to administer the drug in time. If you do it late, you don't do any benefit to the patient. Okay, deep vein thrombosis. Here also in deep vein thrombosis, it's not that you prevent the thrombosis, since thumb formed in the vein will take time to travel to the lungs. So the worst problem with DVT, deep vein thrombosis, is that it will create pulmonary embolism. The emboli that is formed, the thumb that is formed in the veins, can go to the lungs. Okay, so and then in the lungs they will have pulmonary embolism, and the patient may die, collapse. Okay, to prevent that, and there is time for that clot to reach the lung. So if we use fibrinolytic drugs appropriately in patients of deep vein thrombosis, we can prevent pulmonary embolism. Okay, and in some patient, again, pulmonary embolism, already established pulmonary embolism, can also be reversed or prevented. Further damage can be prevented, given here also if in time. Okay, like MI, pulmonary embolism in MI is generally similar conditions, not clinical similarity, but the pathophysiology is that clot is blocking both places. Okay, one in the heart, another in the lungs. Not only in pulmonary embolism, also in peripheral arterial occlusions, anywhere, Buerger's disease. Okay, there are places you have seen many people who have black hands, black legs. Okay, so this type of necrotic limbs can be prevented. They are basically because of blockade of arteries that can be prevented or lysed if administered in time. And ischemic CVA, ischemic stroke. Again, this is the same thing. ischemia in the brain because of thromboemboli in the brain, then here also we can, if you give it time, you can prevent the damage that might happen to the patient after ischemic stroke. But only one thing you should be very careful about is that ischemic stroke should be ischemic, not hemorrhagic. Okay, if you are using streptokinase in a hemorrhagic shock, you are making the patient worse. Okay, the bleeding will start increasing and the patient may die because of that. So you should be always very careful in case of ischemic CVA, or somebody has a stroke. You need to determine initially, before giving aspirin or streptokinase or anything like that, you need to decide that this is not hemorrhagic CVA. I am repeating this from the previous class also. I was repeating this. And how do you differentiate? It's very difficult to differentiate from clinical features. You need to do a CT scan of your patient, of the head. So since this drug is so sophisticated, it has so many contraindications. Okay, so these contraindications: surgery within 10 days, including organ biopsy, puncture of non-compressible vessels, serious trauma, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, this side of things where there are aggressive abrasions and other things. Okay, surgery within 10 days. Why? Because within 10 days the wound might still bleed after. If you dissolve the clot inside, then the rebleeding of the wound from the surgery can occur. Okay, serious gastrointestinal bleeding within 3 months. Again, the same case is bleeding. If there is bleeding, history of hypertension, diastolic pressure more than 110. Why here? Because hypertensive patients tend to have hemorrhagic CVA or hemorrhagic conditions. Okay, active bleeding or hemorrhagic disorder anywhere, GIT, in the other internal hemorrhages or external hemorrhages, anywhere. Previous cerebral-brachial accident or or active intracranial processes. Any type of dangerous diseases of the brain. Okay, intracranial hypertension, active head injury. Okay, any sort of head lesions. Okay, anything in the inside your head. So aortic dissection. This is also emergency condition where the layers of aorta is separated. Okay, and in acute pericarditis, this is inflammation of the pericardium, heart. In these cases, your thrombolytic therapy should not be performed. So tomorrow we have classes, guys. So this is your homework for tomorrow's class. Alteplase and heparin are generally combined. I didn't talk about this. I wanted to talk about this in the previous slides, but since I wanted to give you a homework, so what we are going to do is tomorrow I will ask you specifically with roll numbers, what is the answer of alteplase plus heparin combined regularly? Why alteplase and heparin is combined? Okay, are you listening to me, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is your work for tonight. Okay, and tomorrow again I'll start with this antifibrinolytics. These are not drugs that we'll use for fibrinolysis, but these were mentioned to you: tranexamic acid and aminocaproic acid. This was mentioned to you by Dr. Durga. Okay, when she gave the classification of all anticoagulants. There are drugs which will prevent fibrinolysis. Okay, we don't only need to do fibrinolysis. Sometimes we need to prevent that. To prevent fibrinolysis, we can use these drugs, and these drugs have their own uses that will be discussed tomorrow. So this much for today. Please don't hesitate to. Okay, today I am not letting you ask questions. Please formulate your questions for tomorrow. The questions can be from anywhere, today's class or Durga's class. You can ask me questions, but for that you have to go through all these topics today in the evening. Okay, guys. So,
Yes, sir.
okay, this much for today. I'll meet you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.